Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to show you how I turned my wood paneling in my basement into the look of drywall. Very simple, easy to do, but it does take a little bit of work. Let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to need is maybe a 4.5 gallon bucket of joint compound or drywall mud. I got mine already mixed. You're going to also need a couple or a few of these putty knives. Also, you don't see it here, but definitely get you some plastic to put on the floor so that your floor doesn't get messy. The whole point is to take that drywall mud, put it into the grooves here, pack as much as you can, so that way when it dries and you sand it down, it's really flush. So as you see here, I'm going to demonstrate how I put the drywall mud into the grooves between that wood paneling. Be sure not to get too much of that drywall mud off to the sides. Try to keep it inside those grooves as possible, because when this dries, you're going to sand it down, and that'll just eliminate some of that extra sanding that you'll have to do. Okay, so here I went ahead and I put all that drywall mud into the grooves of the wood paneling. I did a few extra coats just to make sure everything was flush. The next step is to sand this down. As you can see, there's some bubbles or some spots on there that if you were to just paint over it, it wouldn't be flush. So that is the whole point of having to sand this down. Like I said, try to get as much into the grooves so you don't have to do all that extra work like I did. Next, I took some of these sanding sponges and I went ahead and just sand down the walls so that way they're flush. Any marks, any spots, I went ahead and sanded that down. It is going to take a lot of elbow grease into this, especially if there's a lot of marks that are a bit rough on your wall. I just briefly showed how I did it. Make sure you have some protective wear, some glasses, a mask. Open up some windows so that way it doesn't get too dusty and you're not inhaling all of that dust there. I then took a Swiffer wet jet, bought a few Swiffer wet jet wipes, and I'm going to go ahead and wipe these walls down to get all that excess dust off before I prime. As you see, I'm just taking it and just wiping it down. You don't have to necessarily use a Swiffer wet jet. Whatever really works for you, a rag and some water, or a mop, whatever works for you. I now have my primer, my Kiehl's all-purpose primer. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on my walls before I paint, so that way none of that brown from the wood paneling is showing through. This is how it looks after I've primed my walls. As you can see, you don't see any brown coming through. This is a step that you'll need to have before you start painting. So this is how it looked after my first coat of paint. I wasn't really feeling that color too much, so we went and got something a little darker. There was some room for improvement. So in the areas where I saw that the paneling or the grooves of the paneling were kind of showing through, I added a little bit more drywall mud, sanded it down, because I wanted to really achieve that drywall look, or get as close to achieving that look as possible. So this is how the walls look once I applied that different coat of paint. You don't see any of the grooves or the wood paneling showing through. It definitely looks more updated, more modern. I'm going to bring the camera a little closer so you can see that you don't see any of the grooves. I really did good with this one. Make sure that you're putting as much drywall into those grooves and sanding it down to achieve this look. I did a good job with this one. If you really enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe to my channel. Have any tips, any feedback, any recommendations, just leave them in the comments. She's built different, y'all. Be blessed.